Welcome back to Cityhare.com, everybody. I'm the Everyday Chef. Today we're going to be baking. We're going to make a nice cake with a chocolate whipped cream and just a really simple recipe. And I got this recipe from a church cookbook. And I would tell you, this is one of my favorite things in the world, is to get cookbooks like that where people have tried these recipes out. They've had them for maybe generations, but they're some of the best recipes I think you're ever going to find. And this one in particular is a pound cake that was one of my grandmother's favorites, and she told me where to find it, and it is an excellent pound cake, really easy to make, and we'll get right into it. I have some things already ready, and we're going to start here. And in this bowl I have, you can't really see it very well, but I have 2 sticks of butter, I have a half a cup of Crisco, and 3 cups of sugar. Now the important thing to remember about all of this, for all of the ingredients that are going to be in the recipe, is to let them come to room temperature before you mix them together. Mainly because it makes it a little bit easier to work with. So that's what's in this bowl, the butter, Crisco, and sugar. And then in this bowl I have 3 cups of flour, which is sifted, with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I always use kosher salt in my recipes, but it really doesn't matter what kind of salt you use, but a 1/4 teaspoon of salt there. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. And what you want to do with the butter and sugar is just mix it really well. If you have a hand mixer or an immersion blender works, or regular stand mixer, just get in here and mix it up. Start off really slow so things don't get kicked all over the place and end up with a mess on your counter. But as it begins to incorporate, turn the speed up a little bit. And we want things to be nice and creamy. All right. And once this has gotten kind of light and fluffy, and if it's in a bowl like this, you can tell I'm going to touch it a little bit. Set that aside for a second. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to add eggs. You're going to add 5 eggs, add 1 at a time, and then beat it really well to get the egg incorporated. So go ahead and drop those in there. I have a little bowl here on standby for my shells. And then beat them 1 at a time. Alright, and once all the eggs are added, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some milk and flour. Now I forgot to mention earlier that I have milk here, and it has in it, it has some vanilla extract in it, a teaspoon of vanilla extract in it, and we're also going to add some lemon juice to it. And the reason I did not add the lemon juice to it earlier is because when you add lemon juice to milk, it will curdle if it sits. So we'll go ahead and we'll add it now. Just a tablespoon of lemon juice. And then what you want to do with this, you want to add it alternately. You want to start with the milk, put 1/3 of it in, and then put 1/3 of the flour in, and just go back and forth until you're all out. Alright, and we're done mixing the cake batter. Now, what I'm using here is just a tube pan or an angel food cake. I've also used a bundt pan, but you want to take your pan and spray it well with a baking spray, a baking nonstick spray. And that's going to have flour mixed in with it to make it a little easier to use. Now if you don't have a spray that has flour mixed in with it and you don't feel like running out to get some, what you can do is take some Crisco or some butter and wipe all the surfaces of the inside of the pan and the tube, then put a little bit of flour in there, and then just tap your pan or your cake pan and roll it around so the flour covers the entire surface. And that should do you just fine. But here I have the easy way. So I'll just spray this completely. I tend to go a little overboard with it, but that's all right. So that's that. Then, just pour your cake batter in. Now, I haven't mentioned anything about the oven on purpose. That is because you want to put this cake in a cold oven. So you won't turn it on until you actually put the cake into the oven. And you can cook it one of two ways. You can cook it at 300 degrees for 2 hours, or at 350 degrees for an hour and a half. I typically use the longer method and use 300 degrees at 2 hours. And you want to be sure that you don't open the door to the oven while the cake is cooking so the heat doesn't escape. You know, just put it in the oven, set your timer, forget about it. Do something else. But that's it. That's all there is to it to making this cake. It's a simple pound cake. Of course, you can eat the whole thing and only gain a pound, right? That's why they call it a pound cake. So it's a really big snack. So what we'll do is we'll just take our cake and put it in the oven, our cold oven, and leave it there right in the middle, and we'll set for 300 degrees. And there it goes. The next thing we're going to